Hey, this is Dave, and I'm going to go over the progress I made on my video game project, Project 1401. This is the 1401A1 engine, and this is a still screen from it. It's not running right now, but what I'll do is I'm in the project. Oh, I will be in the project. Let me go to my development directory. Build. Let's run our build tool. Compiles everything. This is all HTML5 and JavaScript. Let me refresh that. And so this is just as a dummy scene on it. This is the thing I've been showing before, but what's new is I can shoot these bullets. And not only that, and let's see if I can catch up with them. So they're infinitely going in space. There's no collision detection yet. That's the next thing I want to add. But they're all relative motion, and this is using the physics engine that's in. And so like it starts off with the velocity you're going at, so weird stuff like this can happen. So it's a nice exercise of the piece class I made, just because I wanted to be able to do stuff like this, be able to instantly, very easily make new things appear. So let me go to the code over here. And essentially I took the old demo, the 004 demo, and then I duplicated that and then called that 009 ship bullets, which already had the scaffolding in it for just creating the ship and creating the star field and so forth. And what's new is this whole shoot routine. And before, this was just, was playing this sound here, which is a really annoying sound, so I have it commented out. And what it does here is it creates, every time the shoot flag is true, that means the shoot button is being pressed. And this is defining a function that is called shoot, that's called during my update cycle, which is down here somewhere. Or maybe it's not. Where is that being called? Oh, here it is. It's being called during get input, because that's when I'm reading all the control inputs from the keyboard and applying other control functions before update actually gets called and acts on those. So every cycle, input gets called, then update gets called. Then after that, a whole bunch of AI stuff runs if it's set up, which it isn't in this very simple game demo yet. So anyway, during shoot, if the shoot is detected, it passes along a flag whether or not the shoot button is pressed or not. That's what this if bool is doing. It will create a new bullet by laboriously creating a whole new piece. It's adding a sprite to it, setting the sprite to belong to the piece, and then adding the sprite to the renderer. And then once it's created all of these things, it actually does the calculations. It creates a velocity vector, which is in this as 0.4 units per second, whichever that happens to be. It then rotates that vector toward the same direction that the Krixa ship is pointing. Then it adds the velocity of the Krixa ship, because we want the bullets to have relative motion that way. Otherwise it would look funny. And then we set the bullet piece, BP, we give it the velocity we just calculated. We point it in the same direction that the Krixa ship is pointing, because the bullet should go that direction. And we also start the position of it with a clone of the current position of the ship. So basically it makes a piece that's called bullet piece. It doesn't store it or anything, it just makes it. That's a memory leak that would have to be fixed, but I just wanted to see if I could get the physics calculation to work. The interesting thing about this was the physics.js library doesn't actually tell you to do things that way. So if you look at this, and if we look at, this is the physics.js library website, you can see their space game kind of has something kind of similar going on. I'm not sure if this is how this works. Can I shoot? You know, it's kind of a similar space idea. They don't have a moving star field or a lot of action going on. I guess there's gravity. But if we go back to their main screen, the way that this physics simulation is set up is like there's a bunch of pieces that are placed randomly in the world, and then gravity acts on them. Forces are acting on the pieces. They're not being directly set. Because that's not the way usually physics is handled. But in a game, we want just to set things immediately. Originally, I thought to use a physics library properly, I would have to use apply forces all the time and calculate the exact amount of force that would need to be applied to a mass of a certain mass, and just to give it the right amount of force to start it at a particular speed, and that would be the physics simulation way of doing it. But it's also a pain in the butt. And if you can set it directly and let the physics integrator handle it, which this one seems to be able to do, I think that's fine. It's a game. And so this means that also when I write the steering routines for missiles and so forth, then I don't really have to worry about forces. I can probably just steer the thing and let it handle stuff. It makes a difference, though, if you want these pieces to react against each other. So I want this thing to bounce off of something. Setting the velocity directly is not going to let that kind of stuff happen. But for things like bullets, without shooting from a gun, I think it's perfectly okay. So that's where I am right now. This was actually kind of a big deal just to get this to happen. Next, get some sort of collision detection happening with that, and make an explosion happen, and then start cleaning this up and turning it into something where you can fly around and shoot something. Making an enemy ship would probably be the thing that comes after that. So that's very exciting. And that's the report.